DHL lorry drivers have recently been going on strike and demanding better wages. They were offered a wage increase of 1%, and of course these lorry drivers are essential workers. Without them, the economy ceases to function. And let's be honest, the amount of wealth that's created through their transportation of goods far outstrips a lot of jobs that pay a lot better than that. They said no, and they demanded, through industrial action, a 6.2% pay rise instead, and I'm very happy to say they've won. It's not all that often that we get some good news on the show, but when it happens, it's lovely to talk about. The brilliant thing about this story is that it shows that even as the Conservatives try and clamp down on the ability for people to protest for decent bread and butter policy changes, there are still ways and means of doing that, and working people will not take it lying down. I think that's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, throughout this crisis, lorry drivers have been at the forefront of this whole thing. Generally, people who work in transportation are very, very important to the economy. There's been a lot of focus on driver shortages and things like that. And so, given how important the job is, and given that there's a shortage, you'd imagine they'd increase the wages a decent amount to try and encourage more people to join the profession, to try and compensate the workers for the amount of wealth they're generating. But obviously, that wouldn't have happened. It wasn't going to happen until the unions stepped up. Unite, the union, should be very, very proud of everything they've done. Every single worker who joined in the industrial action should be very, very proud. And it brings itself to a wider point, which is join a union. Right? If you haven't already, join a union. And if there isn't a union for whatever it is you're doing, make one. Start one, find a way. We also need to be pushing legislators, we need to be pushing politicians and things to start working in the interests of workers rather than their employers. But, industrial action is a very, very powerful thing. And, as we've seen through people who work in waste disposal, bin men, bin women, whatever you want to say, in various places, especially, I believe, New York City, through their industrial action, it's been pointed out how absolutely essential they are, and so now they get paid decent wages. They get paid wages reflective of the wealth they generate. That's why we need to empower working people more. That's why we need to switch to a more democratic form of economic governance. That's why we need more worker cooperatives. It's why we need stronger unions, and we need more people in those unions. And I hope this real tangible success and improvement in the living standards and the wages of a lot of people is going to encourage more people to join a union. I think it's one of the few things that you can do that really empowers you as an individual and all of your co-workers as well as a group. It marks the first sort of major victory for the new General Secretary of Unite. God, I can't believe I've literally started filming, I've forgotten her name. Umair, our wonderful editor, will put her name there. But it marks a fantastic victory to mark the beginning of her tenure as General Secretary. And I think, it speaks to how politicians are very, very out of touch, because they believe that the time of unions is over, and that's basically been the general consensus since the 1980s. And the truth of the matter is, unions are more important now than they ever have been. And as wealth inequality continues to increase, as billionaires and the ultra wealthy continue to bribe politicians with big massive donations, it's more and more important that at the industrial level we have working people coming together and basically, throwing their weight around in order to make sure that everyone gets looked after, that everyone gets, fair wages and safe working conditions and decent hours and things like that. So bottom line, join a union. It really is a positive thing. That's, not to say that they're perfect, of course they're not, and every union needs improvement. But generally, there are a hell of a lot of statistics out there. You can look at them for yourself, that demonstrate that you get paid a lot better, you have safer working conditions, and you have fairer hours when you're in a union than when you're not. So go for it. Join a union if you can. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think that was enough, that 6.2%? Do you think it should have been more? How have you found an experience if you're in the workforce with unions? And what do you think should be the next battle to improve the lives of working people? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave them in the comments below as per usual. As always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.